wrestling.
Let's
Favorite
go.
Randy Orton moment. I will go first. I would have to say him being babyface in 2004. Because when he won the championship at SummerSlam, remember how Evolution turned him down? Remember how they betrayed him, how they attacked him? And when Randy Orton was about to give Triple H the belt, he spit at him. And remember how he chased Triple H and Evolution, Batista, Ric Flair with the sledgehammer? Remember that? And
Mhm.
Randy Orton had some mic skills. There was one in which he said something about the big dog and the Usos. I don't know if I can say that. I think y'all remember shit
Oh yeah,
BRF.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
yes.
you know exactly what I'm referring to. Mitch definitely knows exactly as well.
Something
Randy,
about something about letting something out the yard. That's all I'm gonna say.
yeah,
Yeah.
and of course, and shout out to Triple H. I don't know how he does it with anyone talking about his family, particularly with Stephanie, his wife. But man, like, remember, I brought up CM Punk. Remember when he did? You don't wear the pants in the house, but you wear her panties. I still laugh at it to this day, though. I'm sorry, man. I'm just getting out the word of CM Punk. Am I lying? Am I lying?
No, you ain't lying.
But BRF, you said it yourself. Triple H, he's special because again, not only as a creative, but in terms of how he's able to like deal with it, because it's not easy to be talking about someone's family like that, especially the wife.
Yeah.
Cool.
You go pop the trunk about stuff like that. Where I'm from,
There you go.
you start talking about folks' wives and kids and stuff like that. Somebody go pop the trunk on you. So yeah, I ain't talking about to get the spare either. So
I'm telling you. Yeah,
And of course,
exactly.
I forgot one more with Randy Orton, him and Taker. BRF and I talked about it with favorite Undertaker moment, the promos with him and Taker. Especially how when Taker was playing mind games with Randy Orton, and how the father of Randy Orton, Cowboy Bob Orton, how they got involved. And remember when Randy Orton used rest his soul Eddie Guerrero's low rider and attacked Undertaker. So I mean, there's been a lot of great moments with Randy Orton. I mean, heel Randy Orton, but babyface though Randy Orton, I didn't mind babyface Randy Orton because it actually showed me a lot more about Randy Orton. And of course, one of my most favorite underrated wrestlers, Mick Foley. That backlash match with him and Randy Orton back in 2004. I mean, the way that Randy Orton had to go through that match with them thumbtacks behind his back. I mean, that was painful as hell. So, I mean, it's some really great Randy Orton moments. And of course, him and Edge, though, too. So that's some good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Champ, favorite Randy Orton moment. I hope I didn't steal your thunder.
no, man, but you took some good ones, man. Number one, see him becoming the youngest heavyweight champion of all time, beating one of the all-time greats, regardless of the controversies that happened. Because people don't remember that year, the person that he beat won. I mean, he started with his story. That year was the year of CB. From the Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, the Backlash, beating Triple H in an Iron Man match, beating Kane when he was arguably at his most dangerous. I mean, and everybody, it was just a foregone conclusion. And at least I thought, we all know that wrestling is not like other sports. We're not going to use certain words when it's choreography.
Mm-hmm.
But I almost knew this dude about to beat Randy Orton to sleep. I didn't even watch half the match. I caught it on the back end, even though I paid for the pay-per-view. I'm like, he finna get mashed, and next month we're gonna see, it's gonna be another rematch between him and Triple H or him and Shawn Michaels. For him to beat him at his peak says a lot about how much trust they had in you at that moment. I mean, because if you really, really look at it, him and CB had the same caliber of a year. They had two of the biggest years you ever want to see. You know, Randy Orton with the Rocky Sock connection, beating Mick Foley, you know, winning the Intercontinental title, you know, finally overcoming the hardcore legend. I mean, with the thumbtacks in his back, and then finally making it to the pinnacle in order to step out of the shadow of Evolution in order to become the youngest world heavyweight champion in history. We all knew that it was only a matter of time because back then Triple H didn't take too kindly of people trying to take his title. You know, it was like breathing to him. But for him to be doing that on the grander stage during that year, you know, that was nothing short of spectacular. Another one, man, look, another one has to be with the Undertaker, Hell in the Cell. The Undertaker, Hell in the Cell, because that was spectacular. That was spectacular as well. For you to beat the Undertaker in a casket match, you know, for you to you know, redo what Kane did in Royal Rumble 1998 and set the casket on fire. And that was one of the biggest storylines ever. And at the end, the Undertaker taught him a lesson. You know, hey, this is what happens for those who try to look into the eyes of the dragon. If you really look at history, only one person that Undertaker couldn't teach a lesson to, and that was Brock Lesnar. You know, for everybody else, hey, when you face the Undertaker, you went to the woodshed. And guess what? He hung in there with him, man. You know, he beat the Undertaker in a casket match. And I mean, that's his match. You know, that's his match. To beat the Undertaker in a casket match, I mean, that's nothing short of spectacular, man. So, I mean, hey, Randy Orton, one of the greatest heels, one of the greatest superstars, arguably, of all time. You know, Evolution, for them to come from that big faction, past, present, and future, to those two guys really coming into their own. And not only that, man, give Triple H a lot of credit. Revived Ric Flair's career. Remember the cage match they had at Taboo Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, big ups to Triple H, man. You saw you saw a preview of what we're seeing now in his writing style and how he can, you know, carry a program. You saw a little bit of a preview with that, with Evolution and with Randy Orton in particular, coming into his own very, very early in his career. I mean, and not only that, although he lost the title a month later at Unforgiven, you know, because, you know, it's been documented that, you know, Randy has some immaturity issues. And when you're on top of the world at 23, hey, guess what? You're going to have them. You know, you think you the best thing since hot chocolate. So you're going to have some immaturity issues. You're going to mismanage yourself, you know. So for him to overcome that and be as big as he is now, I mean, being one of the biggest heels, arguably, in wrestling history, I put him right up there in top 5 heels. You know, he's up there. So, hey, big ups to Randy Orton, man. I mean,
big ups. Man, and especially to Triple H, which is why BRF has said he better get a shrine for the Hall of Fame. He better get his like own category for the Hall of Fame at some point. Triple H, if anyone who deserves it, it should be him. Mitch, what's your favorite Randy Orton moment?
So I got a few. One, the curb stomp into the RKO against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. That is arguably the best RKO in history. So there's that. You got Randy Orton punting John Cena's dad. Like, no one does that nowadays, man. No one does that. Now, they may go into something like that with Netflix in January, so I can see something like that happening then. You got RK Bro, right? Randy Orton and Matt Riddle. That's the other one. And not a lot of people talk about this, man. Not a lot of people talk about this. Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. That feud that they had. I did not like their WrestleMania match, though. But when Randy Orton was doing his pose in front of Bray Wyatt's, like, haunted warehouse or whatever. So that was arguably one of the best Randy Orton storylines. I just hated the way it ended. So those are mine, man. Those are mine.
BRF.
Well, I've already said, and I'll add another year on. I've already said, and I'll continue to say it. 08, 09, heel Randy Orton is the greatest heel work I've ever seen. It's the greatest heel work I've ever seen. Whether it was punting all the McMahons to the feud he had, even though the WrestleMania 25 match was underachieved greatly, the feud leading up to it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I mean, the whole Randy Orton claiming the anger management issues, trying to use it as a cop out, doing some of the stuff he did, RKO and Stephanie in front of RKO and Stephanie, and then kissing her in front of Triple. I mean, just oh my god, the heel work was just very. There are very few heels that I watched that literally made me want to get in my car, drive to the arena and beat the hell out of them myself. But 08, 09, Randy Orton was one of those heels that make you want to just jump through the TV and just do something to him. Like he was that evil. But as far as like my favorite moments, okay. Well, for starters, seeing him come back at Survivor Series this past year. Seeing him come back at Survivor Series War Games 2023, seeing him come back after not knowing if he was ever going to come back, being on the show for 18 months with that, having that back surgery, and for him to come back, in the type of shape he came in, but looking like he never missed a beat, and as guys that grew up with the young, immature, boisterous Randy Orton. To see like him as this fully grown just man who really kind of now really appreciates the business and takes it one day at a time and doesn't take anything for granted, but yet just has not lost a step. Seeing him come back in 2023, I was like, when I was kind of hearing he was going to come back, and then they made the announcement on the Raw, and then hearing the music and watching them walk down that aisle at Survivor Series, I was like, now this all is right in the world. Seeing John Cena and Randy Orton in any type of capacity on WWE TV nowadays, for me, still feels right. So seeing him back on a full-time basis doing this thing, I love it. The RKO out of nowhere is a moment in itself. And some of my greatest Randy Orton moments are some of the sick RKOs he's hit. In my opinion, I know some people say the Stunner is the greatest finisher in the history of wrestling. I think it's the RKO. I think the RKO is the greatest finisher in the history of wrestling. Just from the standpoint of the innovation, he can hit it from anywhere. And some in particular that stand out. The one against Evan Bourne, where he turned Airborne into the RKO. Before, I think it was the go home show for that Money in the Bank, and Evan Bourne was trying to hit the Airborne, and Randy Orton just got up like in split second and just turned into an RKO. I was just like, bro, I watched that clip every day for like 2 weeks straight. I had never seen something like that done before. It was insane. My favorite ones are that one, the one against Dolph Ziggler where they were having a killer match. And Dolph Ziggler, I think, tried to go up. He tried to go for like a Hurricane Rana, and Randy Orton held him in the powerbomb position. And then alley-oops him in the air and turns it into an RKO. I'm like, bro, how many more ways are you going to find to do this? And then one that really should be talked about more. It was a fatal four-way match. It was like I think it was RK Bro. It was Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. It was Alpha Academy, and I think it was who was it? I think it was Street Profits.
Mm-hmm.
So Chad Gable climbs onto the top rope, thinking he's about to hit a moonsault. And as he's in the air, motioning in the moonsault, Randy Orton just leans back, falls back, catches him RKO. And I'm just like, bro. Like I said, I feel like the RKO is the greatest finisher in the history of wrestling. And oh yeah, that's right. And then the Survivor Series spot last year where they threw JD McDonough off the top of the cell and Randy Orton catches him and RKO's him. I'm just like, bro. Like I said, it's my favorite. It's my favorite. I think it's the greatest of all time. Um, and then if I okay, I'll give one more, and then we can move on. One more Randy Orton moment for me that not a lot of people talk about is the WrestleMania 27 feud with CM Punk, and
Mm.
that build up leading up to it, where like CM Punk had it was the Nexus, it was the new Nexus. I think he had like just kicked Wade, like they had just turned on Wade Barrett and all this stuff, and it was always like they were always jumping Randy Orton. So Randy Orton just goes and punts every single one of them out of their misery to set up the one-on-one match with CM Punk, which in my opinion was the show stealer of that, was one of the show stealers of that event. So yeah, that WrestleMania 27 feud with CM Punk is something it's one not a lot of people talk about, but just the build up with Randy Orton taking out all of the new Nexus to make sure he gets CM Punk one-on-one and then he beats him. It was just that's a feud nobody really talks about that I think should get more love because that build up was really good for that WrestleMania. So yeah, those are some of my all-time favorite Randy Orton moments. But my favorite one has got to be it's like I said, it's the RKO for me because the RKO is a moment in itself. The crazy ways he's hit them. So the RKO is my favorite Randy Orton moment just because he has so many good ones.
There was one Randy Orton moment I did kind of like though. Was the one when he talked about Hulk Hogan. Remember Hulk Hogan and his daughter Brooke? Remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I swear, man, Randy Orton with his mic skills, man. There's him in the Ruthless era. There was CM Punk, Edge, Randy Orton, Cena, and there was some really good Triple H, of course, really good dudes on the mic, man.